Hey, welcome back. Got another project today. Our tractor here that we use for snow removal is having some issues. Doesn't want to start. So the starter motor, when it's hooked up to power, doesn't want to turn over at all. And a replacement starter motor costs over 500 bucks. So today I'm going to pull this thing off here and see if I can possibly get it cleaned up, get it to work again. It'll be a lot better than spending $500 on it. So let's get started. So it should be pretty easy to get that starter pulled off there. Just these 4 bolts here and the battery connector here. Ew, there's some rust in there. Let's start out here with just a bit of this electrical contact cleaner. I think I'll pull this bottom plate off now. So for those of you who've worked on starters before, you might already know some of this, but this is the first time I've worked on it. It looks like, it's the first time I've worked on a starter. It looks like the brushes, they're on a sort of a hinge right here, spring-loaded towards the center. I think with those bolts out that I just pulled out, I could probably pull this bottom plate off. Just have to see if there's anything else holding it on. Looks like there's 2 screws holding this in, one on this side, one on the opposite side here. There we go. Alright, so let's take a look at this thing. Here's the brushes. And honestly, they don't look too horribly dirty, but I don't have a good gauge for how they should look because I've never really done this before. So I do notice this brush here is exceptionally floppy, which clearly it isn't supposed to be floppy like that. The screw is just loose in it. So that being floppy could very well be the issue. What I'd like to do is replace these brushes. Don't know for sure if I'm going to be able to find replacement parts, but I don't think it'll hurt to look. So I'm just going to see if I can find a repair kit for this starter. Well, what you'll notice is this one is worn very unevenly for some reason. These two aren't worn very much, but look at that one. It's almost gone. And this one, floppy. It wasn't even tightened down in there. I don't know if it'll even tighten down in there at all with this screw that's put through there. Well, we'll see. It's very coarse threads, though. So what I'm going to do is just pull these off here and see if I can replace them. These aren't really very tight, are they? Alright, well there's one out. I have a feeling these were replaced at some point already because they really don't seem... Well, they don't seem as worn as I would expect them to be if they were original, but I don't know that for sure. I already tell this is going to be pretty fun to do. There we go. Now let's try this loose one next, because I'm curious how bad it is. Definitely looks like it wasn't making contact all the time. Look at that patch right there. Probably sparked across the gap and welded itself right there a few times or something. That might have been the reason why my starter wasn't working. I'm hoping that that's all it is. Yeah, this is going to loosen up again, I can tell. I think this hole is stripped out, and honestly, I don't think that's the original type of hardware that was mounting this to there anyway. I don't think it was a self-tapping sheet metal screw or whatever this is. I'm probably going to have to replace this with a small bolt. I'm going to probably put double nut on the other side to make sure it doesn't loosen off. But for now, let's get the rest of these replaced. And since they're not stripped out, I'll probably leave them with the same mounting hardware, but tell me in the comments. Anyone who's rebuilt starters before, tell me in the comments if it looks like this is the original hardware or not, because I don't think so, but I don't have much experience either, so. Yeah, look at that. I wonder why this one was so much further worn down than the rest. I don't know. Could be that someone replaced a couple of these brushes at one point and didn't replace all of them at the same time. And that one's maybe just an original one, and that's how far it's gone. Okay, they're all in there. I think I'm going to try putting the starter back together and seeing if it'll turn over now. Because I'm curious if that actually fixed it or not, so let's see. Alright, well, before I put this back together, I had started putting it back together, but I really should clean out that gunk in between each of these, I think. So, I'm going to get that cleaned out before I start putting this back together again. Okay, so there's gunk in between each of these different contacts here. I don't know for sure if that would cause this thing to have any problems, but I don't want to leave it in there, so I'm going to clean it out. I don't really want to apply any pressure with this thing. I just sliding it through there, getting that gunk broken up, and then I'll wash it away with the electrical contact cleaner. Yeah, this stuff is coming off of here black, so it's definitely cleaning something off of there. So what I ended up doing on the other side, you might be able to see here, I ended up using zip ties to pull each one of these brushes back because they were sticking in too far. And no matter what I did, I couldn't get this thing to slide in. So maybe it'll work now. Got to line up that dowel right there with the hole that it goes in, which is right here. And we'll see if I can get this thing to go in there this time. Alright, went in there. Now I just gotta clip off each of these zip ties and pull them out of there and then screw down the contacts. Okay, that's back on. Alright, the starter is on there. And because this thing's battery is dead, got it hooked up to the pickup for a jump start. Let's see if that starter will turn over. Let's make sure these are connected good. Well, it turns over, which is better than it was doing before. It's turning over kind of slow though. Alright, well I'm going to give it a few minutes to charge this battery up from the pickup, and then I'll try it again. Okay, it's been a few minutes. Let's give it another shot. Okay everyone, I popped the starter back off because clearly that wasn't working. Looks like I determined that these wires here and here were grounding out on the bottom of the starter internally when I was trying to turn it over, and that might be what's causing the issue, so I just covered them in electrical tape. I know it's not exactly a pretty fix, is it? But it should tell me at least whether or not that was actually the problem, so I'm going to put it back together really quick again and see if it works. Okay, I took it off again to struggle with it and fight with it for a little bit. I didn't want to bother filming everything because you guys have already seen this come off multiple times. What I did was I flipped around the brushes because they have a slanted face on them, and that face makes contact with the starter motor armature in the center, and I wasn't sure it was making good contact, so I flipped the face the other way to see if it would help. I also took off the two grounding straps that were hooked to the two brushes, and I cleaned the contacts there to make sure there wasn't any gunk keeping them from functioning. So I got the starter back on here. You can also see I replaced that bolt that wasn't there earlier. I'm going to hop up into the cab of the tractor and see if it'll start. I got the pickup hooked up to jump start it because this battery is probably still dead. Let's see if it'll start. Let's see if it'll even turn over, first of all. Well, that's pretty good. Turned over and it started quick too. So I'm pretty well convinced that what it was those starter brushes were backwards and they weren't making good contact. So apparently it pays to pay attention to the directions things face. I hope this video may have shed some light on some projects you're doing, or at least served as good entertainment. So make sure to stick around for more videos in the future, and I'll see you guys later.